Hey everyone, Wandering Bard here, and in my last video, I talked about the Final Fantasy XVI characters that I could not analyze since there were quite a few characters, even main characters, that were sidelined in favor of Clive and his journey. Y'all seemed to really enjoy that video, and at the end of that video I promised that I'd do a similar one for Final Fantasy XIII. The difference for this one though is that, in my opinion at least, Final Fantasy XIII did a pretty good job fleshing out its main cast of characters. Now, it did help that they had an entire trilogy to work with instead of just one game, but they did a great job, and I spent a lot of time last year making individual videos for those characters. There's a playlist full of them in the description. So in this video, instead of talking about characters that I wish they could have done more with, I'm going to be highlighting some side characters that I found really interesting, but couldn't make a full video on because, well, they're side characters. Obviously, this won't be an exhaustive list, so let me know your favorite side character from the trilogy down in the comments. In the meantime, I'm going to kick this video off with a character who honestly gave me this whole idea, Bartholomew Estheim, Hope's dad.
Hope. Mom's gone.
Let's not beat around the bush here. Bartholomew Estheim is an absentee dad, and also a neglectful spouse. We don't meet him until Chapter 7 of Final Fantasy XIII, but what we hear about him leading up to that is not great. The first time we hear about him is when Hope flashes back to the fireworks show, which he's attending with his mother Nora, and Bartholomew is conspicuously absent. When Nora wishes that her husband can join them next year, Hope angrily claims that it was better this way and that they didn't need him. To the party, he states that his father has never listened to a word he said, that he doesn't believe he's worried about Hope being missing. According to the wiki, his father wasn't present at fireworks night because he was held up at work, and we're led to believe from Hope that this is a common occurrence. Now I will say that a neglectful parent situation isn't one that I personally have much experience with. But one thing that I think about with Bartholomew Estheim is that I genuinely think he does care. His grief when he knows Nora is gone, and his relief when he finds out that Hope is alive, are immediate and powerful. So I don't think he doesn't care, I think he's someone who allowed his priorities to slip without realizing it. In his mind, he likely justifies working long hours as providing for his family, or he rationalizes it because people at work are counting on him. Meanwhile, his family is counting on him too, and he's not there for them. And he doesn't realize that this has become a pattern for him, putting his family second time and again. As much as he loves his family, he isn't prioritizing them, and he can't see it. And meanwhile, all Hope can see is that his dad's not around for him. And the sad thing is, it takes Hope and his mom being purged for Bartholomew to realize that his priorities had indeed slipped. And you hear about this happening in real life too, where absentee or neglectful parents don't realize their own behavior until something drastic happens. Their spouse dies, their kid goes no contact or gets into serious trouble. Something drastic usually has to happen to shake people out of this routine they've developed. In some cases, they actually don't care and it still doesn't change anything. And in other cases, you get really well-meaning people who do care and who realize they've messed up and want to make amends, and the problem is that they push for reconciliation to happen, and they're trying to make it happen on their terms and not on the terms of whoever they've hurt. So the reason why at the end of it I actually really like Bartholomew Estheim is that neither of the above happens. In what time we get with him, he genuinely does do the work. He opens his home to Lassie, even though it means putting his life on the line, and it doesn't come across like some kind of grand, regretful gesture. In his mind, there's no question about it. Hope is his son, this is his home. He listens to them about their experiences with the Sanctum and offers to help them think things through, come up with a plan. But most importantly, he listens to Hope. He listens to him about Snow, he follows Hope's lead when the Sanctum attacks, and then there's this scene.
Dad, I hate to run out on you.
You're not running! This is not running away. You've made a choice.
I love this so much because when his dad snaps back at him like, "You're not running!" he's not mad at Hope. He's being vehement like, "I'm gonna shut down this negative self-talk stat," and it comes out harder than he'd planned. And I love how the moment Hope reacts badly to it, he immediately realizes, oh, that didn't come out how I planned, and he changes course. To me, this, along with everything else we see of him in Chapter 7, signals that he genuinely does care about Hope and wants to properly rebuild the relationship. He's definitely off to a good start. We never see him again, except briefly in a vision in Lightning Returns, but one of the fragment transcripts in 13-2 says that he did serve as a financial consultant to the Academy during its formative years. And given that Hope became the leader of the Academy, I think it's safe to say those two ended up okay together. Which makes me really happy, because reconciliation is something that we should strive for, but done properly, like they do.
Sarah, is that you?
Hey, watch yourself.
Thanks. Oh, Sarah, it is you.
You know them?
Alyssa Zaidelle. When we first meet her in Final Fantasy XIII-2, she's an ambitious researcher trying to get ahead. She spots Sarah and Noel coming out of a time gate in the Brescia ruins, and she helps bring them from confinement, hoping they can resolve the paradox surrounding Atlas so she can continue her research and land it big. After the paradox is resolved, however, they find a monument in the ruins marked with the names of those who died during the Purge. Alyssa runs to check on the names on the monument and explains her interest in it. She watched a friend die during the Purge and is plagued by nightmares of rising from the ground and finding her own name on the monument instead of her friend's. The party runs into her again 5 years later, where her paradox research has landed her a position as assistant to Hope Estheim. She also uses a time capsule to travel with Hope to the future to support the party in their final battle with Caius. However, while she dreams in the capsule, Caius speaks to her, telling her that if the party succeeds, the future they create will be one where she doesn't exist. With these words, he brings her to his side, and she betrays Sarah and Noel, giving them a trapped artifact that strands them in the void beyond. It's easy to hate on her for doing that. In fact, I distinctly recall one time where my stream chat and I were all roasting her together. And beneath the obvious feeling of betrayal, we wonder why she made such a stupid choice. If she helps Caius end the world ends for her too, so she's not really helping herself here. The thing is, I don't think that Alyssa is a stupid or evil person. In the scenes we see her in before the betrayal, she shows a lot of intelligence, curiosity, determination, and beneath it all, there's fear. Fear of the Purge, fear of the world ending, but most of all fear because of her nightmares, and fear because I think she knows on some subconscious level that her nightmares are the truth. In the original timeline, the one uncorrupted by chaos, she died during the Purge and her friend was the one who lived. Her existence now is due to the timeline being changed, and she is desperate to keep herself alive, so much so that she's willing to betray everything she once stood for. I think Alyssa is a fascinating study on how powerful fear can be, and how even a smart, rational, and good person can be changed when fear rages inside them for too long.
Where'd they get the name Nora?
It's a stupid acronym. Their little code stands for no obligations, rules, or authority. Must be nice.
Yep, that title pretty much sums the group up. Snow Villiers' vigilante group, the one that helped him protect the original town of Bodom from monsters. We actually first meet them during the Purge in Final Fantasy XIII. While Lightning focused on reaching the Vestige and saving Sarah, Snow and his gang try to get the Purge victims to safety first, with mixed results. All four of them have a lot in common with Snow. They're brave, they're capable fighters, and sadly, all of them, even LeBro, the most level-headed of the group, they all buy into Snow's philosophy of reckless heroism. From a writing standpoint, it would have been interesting to me if they decided to invert that idea, to have this group be the ones who keep Snow's eternal optimism in check. Maybe even have them assist the party at some points during the game, instead of just appearing once near the end. That role is filled by Reigns and his cavalry, which later turns out to have been by Fausti design, unfortunately for the party. The Nora squad doesn't really get to shine until 13-2, where they act as protectors for New Bodom. They only appear in Chapter 1, but we still get a lot more insight into their personalities than we did in the original game. Given that most of the time we had for them in Game 1 was in combat, we don't really get much of their personalities besides Maki whines a lot and they all goof around too much when they're not in danger. So it was cool getting to see them interact together and learn more about them in 13-2. Godot may be Snow's lieutenant, but beneath his bravado he feels insecure with command. And it turns out LeBro helps with a lot of the decision making. Maki is a tinkerer, and his shop, Lenora's Garage, is one of the ones the players use in Final Fantasy XIII. Yuge is apparently fashionable when he's not killing monsters, and they all get along really well with and genuinely care about Sarah. They're basically all a family together, which is exactly what Snow wanted, a family to call his own. And it's really sweet. And one other thing that shines through in both 13 and 13-2 that I like is that they genuinely believe in what they do. Not just believing in Snow, but in their mission to protect people. They help save people during the Purge, they help Snow bring the Sanctum down, and they do the lion's share of the work building houses, setting up defenses, and teaching people how to fight in New Bodom. They could learn a lesson or two about caution, but then so could Snow. And they all follow their fearless leader. So there's that.
You're Yeul too. Which era do you come from?
I am the one who lives in all the ages. I am the one who dies in all the ages. I am the one who suffers countless partings again and again.
I want to give huge props to Amber Heard, the voice actress for Yeul, for both making her voice sound like a young person, and yet it should never be able to come out of a person her age ever. That is such a specific niche that she has to fill with that voice, and she absolutely nails it. Yeul is literally an old soul in a young body. A girl who dies as a teenager and is reborn over and over again, carrying memories from all of those past lives with her as she goes. Despite this, she also has unique traits and quirks in each life. A Yeul who collected flowers, a Yeul who loved to sing, a Yeul who dreamed of travel. Same soul, but different person each time, which makes her a somewhat confusing and frustrating character to analyze from my usual scriptwriting standpoint. And all of her lives are too short for me to analyze any one of them meaningfully. So let's focus on what's common between them. Because Yeul comes across at first as a detached, almost inhuman figure, someone whose mind is way too far away to really reach her. But as we keep going through time, we learn that the truth is quite different. Rather than being emotionless, Yeul cares quite a lot. She views her gift of prophecy as a responsibility, a charge to guide people on the correct path to the future. She desperately wants to see a future of hope, even if she won't live to experience it. And she cares deeply about her companions, Caius and Noel, and her love for Caius in particular is what drives her to be reborn over and over, to the demise of many. And it's at this point in Lightning Returns, when all of the Yeul are together with Caius, that we see the contradictions of her varying personalities really start to come in. Half of the Yeul want to release Caius from his pain by letting him die, and the rest cling to him too tightly, chaining him to life. This is where Lightning finds them, divided and confused, and she tries to help. Given that she herself isn't able to release Caius by saving him, it's unclear how much she really achieves here. My understanding is that the fact that she at least tries allows the Yeul who wanted his release to settle down, and they ultimately all do come together to become the new goddess of death, and a somewhat creepy one at that.
You must be Snow Villiers. Yaag Rosch, Psychom Division.
For the final entry on this list, we're going back to one of the main antagonists from the original Final Fantasy XIII. While the fal'Cie Barthandalus serves as the game's main antagonist, the party doesn't interact with him much until we're well into the story, and as a fal'Cie, he's not the most relatable enemy. The enemy that player and party connect with, the face of evil as it were, are the human commanders of Psychom, Yeul Nabat and Yaag Rosch. And while evil is an excellent word for Nabat, Rosch is a lot more nuanced. For his troops in the face of danger, he seems to embrace the Psychom philosophy. l'Cie are inhuman, they're just targets, show no mercy, etc. But in the very first scene that we, the player, see him in, he shows us what he's really about.
If we fail, our citizens pay the price.
Later in the same chapter, when he has an opportunity to speak with the party, he does show sympathy for their plight and genuine anger at the notion of the Purge. He claims, however, that if the Purge doesn't continue, the populace will spiral into panic until Cocoon itself will die. So I don't think Rosch is evil. I think he felt trapped between two evils, and he chose the course that he believed would cause the least harm, the least bloodshed. And as the whole situation spiraled out of control, he keeps relentlessly pursuing the party, hoping that if he can bring them down, he can at least salvage something out of this whole situation. The main fault we could find with him is that he believed in the fal'Cie's benevolence toward mankind when he was ultimately very wrong about that, but it's hard to fault him for that because everyone on Cocoon, even the party, used to believe that before everything that happened. It's only when he sees his own soldiers turn in the seat does he realize the gravity of that mistake. The thing is though, once he understands that, he does make things as right as he can with what time he has left. The important thing is that contrary to all of the Sanctum's rhetoric, he understood the humanity of his l'Cie opponents. And serving humanity was always his goal, even when he thought supporting the fal'Cie was the best way to do that. But once his trust in the fal'Cie was gone, the underpinnings of his reason for hunting l'Cie were gone too. So from there, he trusts in their humanity to save the world, even if he won't live to see it. I really wish he could have survived because I think that he would have absolutely worked to atone for his mistakes had he been able to. But his last acts were to give the people of Cocoon the best possible chance, and to me that makes him a hero. Well, there you all have it. Those were some of the underrated side characters from Final Fantasy XIII. Let me know if I missed anyone, and please consider subbing to the channel to catch more content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, have a good one.